Hey writers, if you wonder why success eludes you, even though you feel like you're putting in the time and effort, this one's for you. Hello and welcome to the Write Anyway podcast. In today's episode, Sue speaks with Art Turock, Comfort Zone Demolition Expert. Art is a longtime coach and successful speaker for top Fortune 500 companies. And if that weren't enough, he took up sprinting at age 55 with silver and bronze medals in pentathlon at the USA Track and Field Masters Championship. Art knows how to take extreme accountability for achieving breakthrough results. Just a small content warning, this interview contains discussion of food and dieting from about minute 19 through minute 22. We'll put in a little warning. But here is the conversation.
My friend Art Turock, because I need somebody to help me talk to writers about discomfort and being uncomfortable and how necessary it is if you want any sort of writing life, much less other people to read your book. So welcome, Art. I want to tell a quick story of how you and I started talking to each other about this topic. So I think we met in like 2019, something like that, 2019, 2020. And you were in a cohort of people I was working with about book marketing. And then I found out your amazing background of being a speaker and a coach. And I was talking to you about how I was trying to start this accountability group for writers. And I couldn't figure out how to structure it so that I could really hold people accountable. Right. And you were like, well, that's because you can't. You can't hold people accountable. And then you introduced me to these mind-blowing questions that you use to invite people to be accountable rather than hold people accountable. So I would love if we could start there and then move into talking about comfort zones.
Sure. Well, let's define the distinction. Holding people accountable so often is about administering consequences. It's about monitoring. It's about frequently interacting. It's about assuring that they have the qualifications. Good stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the crucial difference, holding people accountable is something that's done to the coachee. Inviting accountability, the coachee steers the way, and it comes through introspection. Sue, that's the key word. It's not being done to you, hold accountable. It's you having the courage to introspect, to begin to look at how do I stop myself? What are my self-limiting beliefs? I call it guy on the couch comments, woman on the sofa remarks. To give a little detachment if it's too personal. But if you don't need any detachment, go full bore, be courageous, and do the introspection. And the introspection will guide you into several places. It'll look at places like, what are the undermining behaviors I do? What are the self-limiting beliefs that I keep generating? Here's the key, the colossal deception. What are the short-term payoffs that I choose to accept? They're immediate. They're guaranteed, and I'm choosing that rather than to play for the long-term results that in my heart I desire. Now get your head around that, Sue.
Yeah. And that's really the crux of it, right? Because that's where the discomfort intersects. They're making those short-term choices because it is more comfortable. And if you made decisions that were in line with your long-term goal, that's very uncomfortable.
Precisely.
Right? You might have to feel stupid because you don't know how to do something. You might have to feel like vulnerable because you're putting yourself out there and, exposing yourself to criticism. And all of the things are very uncomfortable. So I know that you have a book that is just coming out by the time people are hearing this podcast. It will be available. So I want to talk about some of the good stuff that's in your book. So the book is called Demolish Your Comfort Zones: 6 Unconventional Practices to Crush Your Hidden Limitations. So knowing everything that's in the book, Art, what do you think is the critical pieces for writers to understand about crushing their comfort zone?
What it's going to take is a willingness to be courageous. And I want them to reframe. This is the crucial piece, Sue. Reframe their thinking about comfort zones. Okay? So, bottom line, comfort kills more dreams than failure ever will. Yeah. Comfort zone demolition is the springboard for a lifetime of transformation. Whew! Hell of a way to start, right?
Absolutely. And I think people can feel it when you say it, that that's really true. Oh, every time I pulled back was because I wanted to stay comfortable because I was scared. Right. And courage has like a really positive reputation where everybody uses like, oh, that's so courageous. And we forget that courage feels awful when you're exercising it.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, a comfort zone is like a psychological state. Circumstances seem familiar. We engage in a limited set of behaviors, and there's no extraordinary effort or risk. Who wants to leave that?
Right.
And that's the deception. You are selling out your freedom of choice. I repeat, you are selling out your freedom of choice. So I say, rather than step outside of your comfort zone, which sounds too gentle, look at what's at stake. You need to demolish the sucker.
Yeah.
So that's what your writers need to hear. Discomfort is the price of freedom. Put that hang in the rafters. Yeah.
It's so true. I talk to writers about it like there's a wall, right? But if you're talking about something physical, there's this huge wall that you have to scale in front of you. And everything you say you want is on the other side of that wall. And you don't want to go through the pain of climbing up that wall, scaling, trying to, tuck your toes into every little crack because you think it's going to hurt. You might even fall down and have to start over again. But you will get over the wall and you'll be over there. Whereas if you stay on this side of the wall, you have the chronic suffering of knowing that you are not being courageous enough to go over the wall.
So well put. So well put. So otherwise, why not operate with a different mindset?
Yeah.
And look at fascination, intrigue, sense of adventure when you approach a comfort zone. That's the beauty here.
Yeah. So give us one or two tools that will help us destroy our comfort zones.
Well, I think the first one is, I don't know if I'd say first and foremost, but the ability to recognize commitment versus interest is right up at the top. And it's so up at the top that it appeared on a Starbucks cup, my quote.
I'm going to read it for everybody. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when circumstances permit. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, just results. Yeah. So that is Art's quote on a Starbucks cup.
Now, the key is commitment. So I find commitment is a missing piece in many self-help programs, in many conventional performance improvement methods and lists. So I want people to look at commitment, and the key in commitment is mentally creating perceptions of value. So you need to be creative in creating this sense of value. One place I begin is, what are your passionate values? And in my book, I have a series of questions that help guide you to discover, create, conceive your passionate values. Interesting, we don't need help coming up with excuses, rationalizations, and self-limiting beliefs. Those are flourishing in our culture. And Nate Bass, the USC professor, uses the term blame contagion. So it is a social contagion that runs wild. And what IMA stand for is accountability contagion. It's spoken here, and I want it to be in every conversation that I'm in. So that's one of the questions I want people to be asking themselves. Are you committed or interested? Now, let me make one other distinction here. And I would even edit my Starbucks cup quote. The editing would be, no excuses, just results. I would say no excuses, just do the required actions to get results. Okay? So commitment doesn't guarantee an outcome. No.
Yes.
All you have control over is doing the actions that are required to achieve results, and then take a look. And
Yeah.
you may need to course correct before you get there. So
Yeah.
that would be a key piece, is start making commitments and look at the value and really focus on, what is the exciting piece to this? What do I resonate with? How can I change and develop? My core values are freedom, courage, and extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out with this identity, this role of comfort zone demolition expert. Do you see how it chinks so well with the core values?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can't be free if you are beholden
That's
to
right.
your comfort zone.
Yes. Yes. So I think that's a real key piece. Now, the other thing, you're asking for a couple of methods.
Yeah.
It's asking great questions of yourself when you take accountability for your mindset. So to give an example, in my book, Andrea Fletcher, met her. She was a writer and part-time. She's doing other things, but she says, I'd like to write children's books. This was her vision. And we kept looking at what she needed. And I said, what is the immediate payoff do you gain by ignoring your scheduled writing time?
Yeah.
That ring well with
Yep.
this audience?
Yep.
What is the immediate payoff you gain? So you'll see that my questions focus on looking at short-term gain, long-term cost. That's where the rubber meets the road. The juxtaposition between those two makes all the difference. So that's the first coaching question. And Andrea said, as the oldest child in my family of 5 children, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a teacher, as a counselor, which is where I met her, I am prone to take care of and nurture others.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like a comfort zone?
For sure.
Yeah, there you go. Immediate payoff. Now, as we did coaching, I said to her, how does that work over time? What is the cost of continuing to follow that pattern of nurturance in terms of your book writing? So it's a nasty question because she has to look at the truth in the face, and it's not an easy truth to accept. This is why I keep talking about the courage to do introspection, and I'll harp on it over and over again. So Andrea, I hit her with the jigs up question. Next, if nothing changes, what desired outcomes are unlikely or never going to happen? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And as moments after I said that, she says to me, I'm going to have to trim the fat.
Yes.
I need to let go of doing things that aren't in alignment with my goals. I will focus on taking time for me and making my dreams happen. So you see, in that swift coaching, where you juxtapose short-term comfort and long-term cost, all of a sudden people can make changes in their priorities that have existed for years, perhaps decades, and would have gone on for the rest of their lives.
Yes. And this particular example, I want to dig into a little bit further because when it is a caretaking example, I have a lot of clients and people in our audience who are caretakers, either for aging parents or for children, even for grown children, right? Like new adult children.
Yep.
And they are used to people-pleasing behaviors. They get validation when they take good care of other people, and they value the caretaking and they value the feeling they get from being that person who comes in to save the day. Right. And so a lot of people don't want to let that go. And it's very, very powerful. So the second somebody knocks on their door with a need, they're going to push their book aside and they're going to go do it. So
Yep.
I find reframing of the kind of help you want to give someone is really crucial, right? How can I be a model for the people in my life, especially my children? How can I be a model of someone who lives their dreams, has the courage to live their dreams? It doesn't mean I'm abandoning my family when they need me, but it's not good for somebody to think that they can always pull somebody else away from their priorities. That's not a healthy dynamic.
Nope.
You want your kid to be able to grow up and write a book, right? Maybe you should be modeling for them how you can make that happen. Not in the perfect way, but in a realistic, it's all trade-offs and decisions in the moment, but I have to keep my long-term commitment in place and I have to move in alignment with that commitment.
Yes. Now, one of the things I want to be sure we get into play is the book marketing piece.
Yeah.
And I want to share with you a personal story that made all the difference in my life. How I overcame fear of rejection. Now, writers certainly face fear of rejection. In my case, it was telemarketing myself as a speaker. Holy cow. So this is back in the days before the internet. You literally had to telemarket. And the product wasn't selling insurance. It was selling me,
Right.
Art Turock, as a speaker for your group. Oh, wow. And I couldn't cop to the comfort zone of email. And let me tell you, I love public speaking. You can probably tell.
Mhm.
I hate telemarketing and hearing rejection. And it was my speaking skills that seemed to be rejected. So I had to figure out, how am I going to do it? And the real key was getting in touch with my passionate values. And so I said to myself, okay, what does speaking enable you to express? Your freedom, courage, and extraordinary. And it would be truly freeing if you could get off the butt and start doing telemarketing calls. It would be surely courageous, and it would be an extraordinary accomplishment to do this. So I simply set myself a goal. And again, the key phrase is required actions. I said, I will do as many cold telemarketing calls as is necessary to get 15 meeting planners who say, you might fit our program, send your video demo tape. And there it was. And I ended up speaking to 125 Fortune 500 companies. It's one of the higher totals in the speaking business. So it's the power of having your passionate values, knowing how to execute them, and also disbelieving that an initial trepidation is permanent. No.
Yes. That's really important. I want to underscore that. Everyone thinks like, oh, the first time I do it, this is so painful. I cannot possibly keep doing this. It's going to be like this every single time. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is going to get easier, right? Incrementally over time, or even by leaps and bounds. Sometimes people will try this and they'll be like, oh, that was like so not a big deal. I was making so much more out of it in my head. I had a client who wanted to go on podcasts, and she had told herself a story about how podcasters are all mean and they only want to talk to people who already are, best-selling authors and all of these things. And so she joined one of my programs, and all she did was pitch herself on podcasts. And after the first one, she's like, I ended up talking to this person like I'd known them for 30 years.
Yeah.
Every single experience she had with podcasting was lovely. So sometimes it's way easier than you think.
Yep.
And even if it's not, it becomes easier every single time you do it.
That's it. Yes. So, I'm just thinking of my coaching with Ken Blanchard, another, okay.
Best-selling author.
Best-selling author, Ken Blanchard. So Ken, great writer, but more challenged. And we met 40 years ago at a wellness conference. He was speaking. I was selling my book, Getting Physical, How to Stick with Your Exercise Program. So it was a match made in heaven, as it turned out. I became his fitness coach, and we've worked for decades. He lost 40 pounds over time, kept it off.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, the large piece was this. What did Ken pick up on? The book was called Getting Physical, How to Stick with Your Exercise Program. He picked up on commitment versus interest. And so as I work with Ken nowadays, he's so taken by being able to extend himself. Now, here's the trap, and it's in the book, so I'm not exposing any personal information that Ken is unaware of, but he wrote the foreword to my book. But what he noticed his trap now is wanting to comply with the wishes of others, fit in with the family members. What they're eating, I'll eat. I don't want to stand out as eating healthy if they're eating fat-consuming food. And I want to fit in above all. And the two of us looked at it straight, squarely, and said, what's the long-term effect of this? And he began to realize, I'm just going to start putting on weight that I've lost. And it didn't work. We looked at, what else do you aspire to in your life? And he said, I want to live a long life and have great time with my wife, Margie, and have great time with my grandchildren, be a great granddad. And the other thing is, I'm not finished with contributing boldly to managing. In fact, he and I are going to be talking tomorrow about his future in creating management innovation. Here's a guy who crafted the latest book coming out, will be in October. Martha Lawrence is the author. Now, here's an interesting story. Martha, as an editor for Ken for years and years and years, changed her identity. She became an author. And there are 4 places where your listeners can watch that are potential hangups. Your feelings. Am I feeling ready enough? Don't count on your feelings to support you. Your circumstances, are they conducive or unfavorable? No, you create your circumstances. Feelings, circumstances, past history. Do I have any evidence in the past that I can do this? No, it's not going to work. And then identity. And what's so exciting is Ken's editor for years is writing her first book, and it's called Catch People Doing Something Right, Ken's primary notion and contribution to the management world, the management innovations of Ken Blanchard. So she changed her identity, and that's the beauty. And Ken has also changed his identity in our coaching to someone who can absolutely doesn't need to cave to family patterns. He can stand out for himself in his eating, in his diet, in whatever he needs.
Yeah, this is something I see with writers a lot about the identity piece. When, pages and platforms will go to writing conferences and we'll meet writers, we'll meet people come up to the table and say, are you a writer? And so many of them will say, well, I'm an aspiring writer, right? We always talk about that. That's why it's the entry-level question. Which is, unless you identify as a writer, the chances of you actually writing are very, very slim.
Yeah.
You have to have that identity piece. And also, it comes so well with the commitment versus interest. It's not, I'm interested in maybe becoming a writer or writing a book. Like, I'm a writer who's committed to finishing this project.
Yeah.
Very different set of actions available to you when you have the identity and the commitment piece.
Yes. Identity guides choicefulness. So,
yes.
Where did I come up with this? Look at some of my identities. Elite performance provocateur. A previous book. Now, demolish your comfort zone. Okay. Demolition coach, demolition expert, comfort zone, demolition expert. Let your identity fuel your writing and your marketing. So choose it carefully, you bet. Now, the other thing I want to mention for sure, Sue, is your contribution to me as a writer. So do you remember, think way back when you said to me, you've written 4 books, Art, and you don't think of yourself as a writer?
Yes, you told me some BS about not thinking of yourself as a writer. And I was like, haven't you published 4 books?
I know. See how the identity is all made up? It's fabricated?
Yeah.
So what was inconsistent for me is I've always delegated book organizing to developmental editors. And I said, hey, that was a good choice when I was traveling as a speaker.
Right.
But now there's a pandemic. I'm not on planes. I don't have that excuse anymore.
Right.
And my wife and self-appointed life coach, Haley, called me out. And she said, Art, you write blogs, but the book isn't getting written.
Mm.
And it's time to treat writing as a job that you do professionally for designated hours every day. And listen to what I said to her. I don't think I have the brain power to organize a book.
Madness. Madness.
I mean, my guy on the couch sounds like he's a neurologist. And I said, hey, I leave the task of organizing my book to publishers and developmental editors. I wasn't willing to develop my capacity to collaborate with them. And what happened is Haley says, you submit this organized copy, you're not going to get a publisher to accept it, to work with the developmental editor. So I began checking around the internet. Lo and behold, I did find a model that my brain could even accommodate and go, that makes sense. I can make decisions about book organizing. And I did so. And it was amazing. Now, the first week, Sue, I was like banging my head in the desk. This isn't coming. But as you just said moments ago, what may be frustrating at first starts to smooth out. And that was it. I started making things happen. The organization started to happen. And I came to the conclusion I was ripping off my readers by bypassing the developmental work because I had new insights about connections between concepts. I was ripping them off.
Yes, 100%. And we said this before we started recording today, so I want to bring it into the discussion. Working with thousands of writers, right? So we've had big events. We have a summit every year. I talk to hundreds of writers every single year. I've talked to thousands of writers since I've been doing this. I have never met a writer who lacked the brains or the talent to write a book. What I have met is a bunch of writers who've never been taught these mindset techniques on how to reframe their challenges so they can stop self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
That's the issue, right? And that is exactly what your book helps people unpack and finally get over.
And the other piece I would say is empower your coach.
Yes.
So I empowered Haley as a coach dramatically. That allowed me to take the plunge, do some of my own developmental editing, not assume I had a disability.
Right.
And took it on and then capitalized with the pros as well. So surprise, surprise, empower your coach.
Yes. And that's, again, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable to hear the tough love from your coach. So again, that's a comfort zone issue.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So, what's coming across between the two of us is the sheer freedom and empowerment that comes from comfort zone embracing.
Yeah.
Or comfort zone demolition, because again, you demolish and then that frees you up to express your capacity. So that's a more accurate terminology.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Art Turock, thank you so much for being with us today. I know everyone is going to be delighted to talk to you about these things and hear from you about these things, as I always am.
I wanted to save this as like my parting word.
Okay.
Okay. So here you go. Treat each day in your life as if you're writing your autobiography.
Yep.
I mean, pick an identity for your character, as Sue and I were just talking, that you want to carry into the autobiography. What's the title of your autobiography? What are the signature stories that are going to be in your autobiography? What are the major life lessons you're going to share? What are the comfort zones you demolished at major turning points? And what's the impact you're going to have as a writer and express it boldly? What a great way to approach comfort zones. What a great way to live life and use as a basis of your choices.
I love it. It's the story you tell yourself. That's the book I'm working on right now, Art, right? It's the story that you tell yourself. So write your triumph story.
I love it. I love the compatibility between us and two great brains working in unison.
To help writers. We're here to help you.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Art. Take care. Thanks for being here.
Will do.
Art Turock's new book, Demolish Your Comfort Zones, is available now wherever you get your books. You can learn more about Art's coaching at artturock.com. And if you'd like a weekly dose of writing insight and mindset and marketing tips in your inbox, subscribe to the Write Anyway newsletter at pagesandplatforms.com/subscribe. And that's it for this episode of the Write Anyway podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.